All right, folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast. I am one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh, and joined, as always, it is
the other host, Matty Juice. What's up, everybody? Good to be here, Tommy. Excited to talk about indie games once again. Favorite part of the week here. How's everything going?
It's good, man. You know, we're in a freaking rhythm because now we don't even have to like text each other during the day, but still good at 8. No, we're just hopping on at 8. We know, obviously, unless something happens, but you know, we've been pretty good. Was this episode 31? 31, 32? One of the two?
I think it's, I think so. Yeah. But I was actually thinking about that earlier today. I was like, should I message him? I'm like, no, I don't need to message him. He'll be on, like clockwork.
I've been around, man. I've been around now. We have a great episode for you all this week. We are reviewing a game called Dungeon Minesweeper by the developer Strudio Company. That is like studio, but with an R after the T. And it is on Steam currently, $6.99 and 10% off until May 10th. And we'll get to talking about that in a little bit. But before we do and talk about some news, what's going on? How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been good so far. I got today. I honestly just didn't want to get up and work. I don't know what it was. It was one of those weekends, like most weekends, where I'm just like, I need an extra day. But yeah, I had a good weekend. Went bar hopping a bit on Saturday, which was cool. Just with my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law and my wife. We had a great meal. I had an awesome Reuben. We did a little bit of the bar hopping there. It was a good time. Had some Bird's Mouth at a few places,
nice,
which is awesome. You know, it's an awesome brewery that I have not had the pleasure of visiting yet, but really liking their beer so far. And then Saturday or Sunday, just kind of played some games. You know, been playing obviously the games for the show. Another Crab's Treasure, having a good time playing that one. Hopefully, I think towards the end of that game now. And I'm also just working on some YouTube stuff. But it was a pretty busy weekend, but it was a fun weekend overall. But how you doing, Tommy? How's everything going?
I'm good. I also had a pretty busy weekend. On Friday, I worked late. And then I came home and my fiance wasn't home because she was getting like dinner with some friends. And I was just like, you know what? She had bought me like this really nice cheese. I think I talked about it already on the show. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. She's awesome.
2019 winner.
2019 world's best cheese. Not to brag that I'm able to find that and I have the means to be able to eat that kind of stuff. You know, we're really doing well over here. But I knew I had that there, so I was coming home from work. I was at a liquor store working, so I grabbed a nice bottle of vino. I was like, I'm just going to go home and I'm going to just crack open this nice bottle of vino and eat some cheese. And that's what I did. And I really went after it with the wine. And I might have actually also consumed a gummy of some sorts.
Oh, okay.
The combination of blue cheese, wine, and, candy, I was on a different planet. I woke up that next morning like, where am I? What happened? But that was fun. But I don't recommend doing that, kids, if you're underage. Obviously, I am a 32-year-old man. My brain is fully developed, I hope. I'm doing that kind of stuff. I also, what, kind of cool. I stopped in another account on the way back just to like pop in and waste some time. And I started talking to the bar manager. And it was one of those things where you could tell he just like wanted to like brag a little bit. And he was like, oh, you like whiskey? And I was like, yeah, I like whiskey. And he was like, oh, well, since we have so much purchasing power here at this bar, I have Glenglassaugh 30, which if you don't know,
that's a good one.
It's like it takes 30 years to age.
Yeah.
Right. It's a Scotch, excuse me. And it's like $85 a pour. It's like a $600 bottle normally, which is like in the whiskey world, like there are a lot of bottles like that, but it's also kind of cool that it does. This one's like is rare because it only happens every 30 years or whatever. And he gave me a pour for free, and I was like, all right,
Oh,
I was
nice.
talking to him up, like, oh, dude, you're so cool, man. Like, yeah, I love whiskey. You love whiskey. You have so much
Yeah.
purchasing power at this bar. That's such a cool thing that you have. And he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't.
You want to come have some cheese and wine and
My
put some
lady's not
candy?
home. So yeah, that was Friday. Then we went to a wedding at a casino on Saturday. That was very
Nice.
interesting, I will say. But it just was a strange wedding. Nothing wrong. Very happy to the bride and groom. Very nice. Congratulations to you. And then yesterday, I just kind of played the game that we played this week and just kind of vegged. And then Bernard Hill died from
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings. So I popped on Fellowship of the Ring last night and just kind of vibed, played Balatro, watched Lord of the Rings on the couch.
Nice.
I'll tell you what, I am playing a lot of Balatro still. I
I
am,
see. I see in the Discord.
I have, for those of you who don't know, you got the different stakes. I have completed all the black stakes on all the decks. Now I'm moving on to the blue stakes. And the blue stakes are pretty rough. Now, I'm hoping by the time I finish the blue stakes, the new update, which went live on Steam, will get pushed to Switch. I think the Switch usually takes a little bit longer. So the higher stakes get not like easier, but like not as backbreaking. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that
So you're
was-
hoping that comes out before you
yeah.
get there.
Well,
Yeah.
I already beat the orange stake or the gold stake or whatever it is, the highest stake on the red deck, the original
Okay.
deck in Balatro. And I beat it when it was still hard, really hard, but
Yeah.
it's going to be difficult to do it with some of the other decks. They're really, really brutal. But
So are you going like stakes across the board right now rather than like all the stakes for one deck and doing it that way?
yeah, so I started all the stakes in one deck for the red deck, and then I started doing on the blue deck, which is the 2nd
Mhm.
one, and the blue deck is harder, and I was having trouble as I got higher in the stakes. I was like, all right, you know what? I'll just like do all the different stakes on each deck. Been working through them. Black is like halfway. Blue is just a little bit beyond that. So, we're doing it. And I got some
Yeah.
merch. I ordered some merch. I'm crazy.
Nice. What'd you get? Which one?
I got the Wheel of Fortune hoodie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dope.
And the one that it says nope on the back because
Mhm.
obviously every single time you play Wheel of Fortune, it's a nope. But I digress, folks. We have a lot of indie game stuff to talk about. But before we do, you gotta know that the Fresh Juice, the Fresh Juice Discord. I almost said the Fresh Juice Discord.
The Fresh Deuce Discord.
Holy
That's something you
smokes.
probably don't want to join.
Yeah. That's where if you like the games that we hate, we send you to that Discord. It's a different invite. Now, it is the best place to hang out in all of the indie game world, I will say. And that is all in the show notes. Please check it out, as well as all of our socials. They are listed in the show notes as well as on screen if you're watching on YouTube. And hey, give us a like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you're listening on Spotify or anything like that, rate us. That makes us easier to be found among the world wide web, which is where we are right now. But we got some real news. The first one is huge for me. Take your shot if you're keeping track and having a drinking game. I'm going to mention Loop Hero again. It is out on mobile, just like out of nowhere. I guess they've just been working on it. It's on Android and iPhone, and I downloaded it, and it plays really well. I didn't think it would, honestly. I mean, I wouldn't have thought it would have played poorly, but I didn't think it would play this well on the iPhone. So that was really sweet. Check it out. It has like it's for free until like a certain point in the game, and then you can just buy the rest of the game if you like it, and it saves your progress as well. So
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great way to experience the game if like you're like, you know what, I've been thinking about that game, but I don't want to get it on Steam or anything like that. Try it out on mobile. I think it's a lot of fun. But
Yeah. Love that payment model right there. I think that, breaks down the barriers. I feel like obviously a lot of mobile games, they're very predatory with
Hmm.
their microtransactions, and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, love that kind of. I guess that's like, is that considered like a freemium model where it's like free, and then there's just kind of like you can pay for the rest of it? I don't know if that's what freemium is, but
Maybe.
yeah, awesome. I'll have to give it a shot. I mean, it's a free way to try out Loop Hero. You've been talking about it this whole time. I haven't tried it. And how would you say, I guess it plays like on the touch screen? Like, do you think that it's like, do you think it's easier playing on like the Switch, I guess you would say, or
Um,
is the touch screen like pretty comparable?
I would say so. When I played on the Switch, because I played on Steam and the Switch, when I played on the Switch, I kind of did the touchscreen on there, so it wasn't dissimilar. This is more optimized for that because that
Mhm.
is the primary function of the phone rather than the Switch, which has full kind of like controls. It's great on the computer because it's just point and click, but you're just moving tiles and stuff like that. There's no like, um, I guess not reactionary, but
Yeah, like,
reflex stuff that you have to do. So it's like
okay,
you kind of pause the game, not pause the game, but like you pause like the progression so that you can play stuff. And yeah,
gotcha.
it works. It works well. I would check it out, folks. It would be my rec
Hell
room,
yeah.
but it's worth mentioning in the news. So you put something that I heard about on the news section. It is creating quite the stir. What is that?
Yeah, so this is I still never know what to think about Helldivers being indie or not, because technically PlayStation owns the IP, but I'm pretty sure the studio that makes it is an indie studio technically. But regardless, it's such big news that just had to cover it. PlayStation has officially reversed course on the Helldivers 2 PlayStation Network account requirement. So for those who have not been following, basically, it was always optional to connect your PlayStation Network account to your Steam account in the Helldivers game until recently, where PlayStation said, okay, we're going to make it required. So, in order to play Helldivers on Steam, you need to connect a PlayStation Network account. Problem with that is Steam accounts are pretty much available globally, from what I know. PlayStation accounts are only available in like 70 countries. So literally over 100 countries would lose access to playing Helldivers. So you've been playing it for months. Let's say you're in one of those countries. All of a sudden you log in one day, doesn't work anymore. Or you can't play, and you're going to break terms of service if you try to circumvent that. And then there was just a huge, obviously, it's funny because Helldivers is about everyone working together for democracy and everything. And now it feels, people are saying this is like literally a like mission outside the game, where people went to Steam, gave it literally had overwhelmingly negative reviews. People changed their reviews, people added new reviews. And that's how they made their voice heard. They also refunded the game to Steam. A bunch of refunds went through. Steam started accepting them, which is awesome for Steam. Good call on doing that. And finally, we didn't know if this was going to work because PlayStation actually delisted the game on Steam in those 100 plus countries. But finally, PlayStation tweeted out today, May 6th, that they've heard our feedback and they are going to make it optional going forward. So awesome to hear. I've already seen, let me even check right now. The reviews are changing again on Steam, and now it is set to mixed reviews. So
Okay.
I'm sure as maybe a few more days go by, that'll switch over to positive, and then hopefully very positive. And I just felt so bad for the developers too, because they went out, they said it's they don't have final say. They've been trying to talk with Sony about it, and it's just a really weird situation where like clearly the wrong publisher was chosen.
Hmm.
Because Sony's done this before with some other games from what I was reading, but this is, I think, clearly like the biggest impact that it's had, just because Helldivers was like the number one multiplayer game for PlayStation for a bit, or has been since it came out. So it definitely kind of had that global audience already. But yeah, just great to see. Figured why not cover it? I love seeing this sort of stuff. Unfortunately, I think PlayStation is going to do it again at some point with some other
Yeah.
game. But people are saying hopefully Arrowhead Studios, who's the developers, their next project, won't be Helldivers because, well, that's owned by Sony, that IP. But their next project, they were saying you should find a better publisher, maybe even Xbox. I know Xbox is usually pretty good with it. But yeah, just pretty wild stuff here. What are you thinking, Tom?
Well, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I remember hearing about it, and I was like, this is going to destroy that game, and it was very much on its way to being destroyed, right?
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. Like how could you expect people to be okay with that? Like I understand you want more people on your network or whatever. I don't know if that made it better for the servers or something. I'm not really sure what the like kind of catalyst was there. Maybe they just want more people. I don't know, And but it's ridiculous. It's like PlayStation, like Sony. What are you doing, right?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Like do it with a game that's not super popular. Like if you want to save face here, it's a bad move. Like you make yourself look bad. You don't want to become the bad guy. You want to be the one that's like pumping up these awesome games that you decided to publish. So,
Yeah.
it was crazy, but I'm glad that it got reversed. This is kind of the Sonic the Hedgehog kind of effect, like
Yes.
with the movie, right? Where he looked, to be honest, very scary, and
Yeah.
and then people boycotted. I do feel bad for the animators of
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't feel bad for Sony though. Like you should like not do this. I don't know if it affected Arrowhead at all, which would kind of suck. I don't know if like those like refunds were like
Yeah.
affecting them. That would be brutal. But
I imagine that they were,
mhm,
but I don't know for sure. But I do know the developers came out and said that just because of the way the internet works, is that people started leaving really negative reviews on Helldivers 1.
mhm,
And the developers came out and said, Sony has nothing like that. This is Helldivers 1 has nothing to do with any of this. Like,
mhm,
they were like, they said they were deeply saddened to see that people were doing that. And that's just like
yeah,
irrational people on the internet that don't really understand and just kind of are, out there to hate. But yeah, it's the rumor is that PlayStation did this or Sony did this because like in 2 weeks or so, they have like a quarterly review. So they wanted to boost
ah,
their PlayStation account numbers. But also on the flip side, they're also probably losing money because of all the refunds. So I think that's what really got them to change
yeah,
this policy. And the crazy part is too, is that this is not like an abnormal thing to happen with a game where like if I load up Grounded or any like Microsoft game on Steam, I have to log into my Xbox account in order to play it. Sea of Thieves, all that
mm,
sort of stuff. But it was like that from the beginning,
yeah,
So this is the problem comes like months after this game's launching. Now you're requiring it when people have already been playing it, and it's just if you did it from the beginning, this would not have been a problem at all.
mhm.
I mean, I'm sure some people would have been annoyed by it, but it was just common practice at this point. So, yeah, great to see, Sony kind of reversing their thoughts on this. But uh, I, it just blows my mind that this was even like proposed
Yeah,
of being something, like maybe, yeah. That what they should do is like I guarantee Helldivers 3, if that ever happens, it's going to require you to sign in your PlayStation account right from the start. Like guaranteed. That's
oh
probably like a
yeah,
compromise they made is like, all right, developers, like we'll take it away, but for Helldivers 3, if you decide to do that, we're gonna have to have that login right at the start. But yeah, pretty wild stuff there, Tommy.
pretty wild stuff, and it's I think it's par for the course for things like that to happen. Like you always hear about it. Like as soon as it got so big, it's like somebody's gonna mess with it because somebody wants a little bit more of that piece of the pie, whether it's just like theoretical numbers or money. I mean, this one sounded like theoretical numbers, right? They wanted to look like, oh, like PlayStation's doing great, So not too
Yeah.
surprising, but some really cool news to finish out the news is Hades 2 just got launched in early access, folks, and Hades 1 is clearly a like it's a masterpiece, we'll say it. I think game of the year runner up or game
Oh
of the
God,
year.
I don't know. Yeah, probably game of the year. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah.
Yes, it won game of the year at GDC, Game
Yeah.
Developers Choice Awards. So did win a Game of the Year award. I don't know if it was at the Game Awards. I don't know if
Yeah,
it won that.
but
Um,
clearly an amazing
yeah,
game. Um, and the second one, I felt like came so quick, but it's already off to a hot start. I think it's overwhelmingly positive in the reviews on the early access already. A lot of talk about the scale's a lot bigger. This is a game that I'm probably going to wait till it's like out of early access, just because I prefer playing. I like playing Hades like mobile, like in terms of the Switch or
yeah.
something like that. But
Taking
if
dumps. That's what you want to say.
yeah,
You
I
like
just like
playing it,
on
taking
on the
dumps.
on my throne
Yeah.
playing Hades and Balatro and all other kinds of fun games. Loop Hero now, all right, Loop Hero before as well. But yeah, no, pretty exciting, and I think personally, this coming out in early access is a great opportunity for folks who haven't played the first one to get into playing the first one, because you can almost play the first one and get, almost like right into the second one. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Those people out there, I think they definitely should play it. No, he's talking about me, folks. I have Hades downloaded on my computer, just not have. I haven't launched it yet. I need to. I've just been so busy with other stuff and other. Honestly, if another Crab's Treasure didn't come out, I'd be playing Hades because I just want to finish that game up. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome to see this come out in early access as well. I think that's like the right move. I don't think Hades 1 did. So I think that's honestly the right move for like sequels in general, because a sequel, obviously people are going to be more critical of a sequel because they'll be comparing it to the first one, and I think releasing an early access gives the developers a little bit of breathing room to make sure that they're doing everything right, and they're staying true to the original. So as someone who hasn't played it, it looks awesome, and it also, I don't know if this was like a shadow drop. It seemed like people didn't realize that it was about to drop today. Um,
Yeah, there
it
was like a
just,
play test, right? Like a week or so ago, which I felt like came out of nowhere, and then boom, this as well. I think people
mm,
were losing their minds.
yeah, and I have seen some reviews for it, and people are saying that it's better than the first one,
Mm.
which is really high praise for like a game that's not even fully finished yet. So, um, yeah, I'm pretty excited to play Hades too, but I definitely got to hold out. And I also feel like playing the first Hades is going to get me somehow ready for 33 Immortals, which I know we're
Yeah,
hyped for towards the end of the month. So I definitely got to play that before that 33 Immortals beta at like the end of May. So I'll definitely get some Hades in, and then we'll talk about it on the show. Maybe next week, we'll see.
perhaps,
But
perhaps you could even
um,
stream it. That's like free content.
true. There we go. And if anyone has played Hades 2, definitely join the Discord. We'd love to hear what you think about it so far. And maybe we'll start a little Hades channel in there and chat it up a bit,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We should just have like a roguelike channel, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah, at this point, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll also have a deck builder channel, Though I just got a shout out to like Kmore linked a game in our Discord today that's a deck builder where you're literally building like a deck, like a wooden deck. And I just think that is like that's so great. I want to see
uh,
that now. Like, I don't know. I guess roguelike couldn't really be like that unless you're like a rogue. You're like a rogue,
yeah.
maybe something. But I just love that, people are getting creative with that. Not that it looked like a great game, but,
Yeah, it looked brutal, but
yeah.
it's a meme, and sometimes people just love a meme, and I get it. So
Hmm.
let's see if the game of the week is a meme, Maddie. We are reviewing, and it is a roguelike, Dungeon Minesweeper. It's a unique adventure game with elements of roguelike and Minesweeper. Find out all the secrets of the dungeon, upgrade your character, fight factions, and defeat the boss. Matt, are you a good Minesweeper player?
This should sum it up. I had to look up how to play Minesweeper
Oh,
again. I have played Minesweeper in the past, and I do like the rules of Minesweeper. I think it is a well-made game, but it's been so long since I actually played it, so I had to look up the rules and I kind of remind myself a little bit of how to play it. So no, I would not say I'm a good Minesweeper player, but I enjoy the challenge of Minesweeper.
sure, Sure. I almost
Yeah.
went pro. I don't know if you know that, but
Really?
hurt my
Yeah.
knee, and just right out of
Yeah.
college, and the combine was there. But no,
Yeah.
Minesweeper. I'm a big Minesweeper fan. So when this game came across our desks, and we did get keys for it, I was very excited to dig in. Right, like roguelites, or like Minesweeper, like dungeon crawlers. This should have my name all over it. So let's get into the gameplay. So this is a game where you really just hop in. There's a tutorial. You can choose to do the tutorial. It tells you how to do things. So you are moving one space at a time with the WASD keys. And, then with your mouse, you're clicking on the different bricks to break them. Every room has a wall, right? So the wall is breakable, right? That's how you start getting into the areas where you're going to be breaking where the mines could be, and where the actual Minesweeper gameplay really comes into play. And the walls will never have mines in them, but they will sometimes have the numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it goes all the way to 5 in Minesweeper. Always forget.
Yeah.
No, you can have
4.
No, you can have like 1, 2. You can technically have 5, 8.
8. Yes.
Yeah.
8.
It does. It's pretty rare. That would be a space surrounded by mines. So
Yeah.
So then that's when the Minesweeper stuff comes into play. So you're doing this, and each brick is either just like a nothing brick, or it has some kind of resource. There's 3 different resources, I believe. There is like the iron, and then there's like rubies, I believe, and then a yellow one, which I forget.
Gold.
Yeah, it was just gold. Yeah. So that is basically what your resources are in the game. In addition to that, you are also going through this dungeon. There's pathways, and there's like little traps and stuff like that. And then there's enemies, and they'll move one space at a time along with you. They'll chase you, yada, yada, yada. You have to click on them to attack them. There's also a spell that you have that sometimes works. And that is basically the combat, right? It's kind of not dissimilar to things like, I mean, what's the rhythm-based game? Necro Dancer.
Yeah.
Right? If you ever played that, it kind of feels a little bit like that without the rhythm-based stuff. But in terms of the gameplay and how I enjoyed it, well, like I said, I love Minesweeper. And to be honest with you, Maddie, I was really addicted to just the minesweeping, right?
Yeah.
I like that. And I like the idea of collecting resources while I'm doing it. And that's where my enjoyment kind of stopped. Because you're going through this dungeon, it's a little clunky already, and then the combat is totally just broken. It's not intuitive. It'll say you missed, but like it'll kill the guy, or it'll say they missed and you still die. And also worth noting, you do have a health bar and a like mana bar, as well as like slots for the different things you have to find in the dungeon to complete the level, which are not very intuitive either. But I digress. The combat was totally broken. I would have preferred this game if the combat just wasn't in it, because it just made for a unpleasant experience. Because it didn't feel skill based at all, first of all, and it didn't feel like your upgrades and your health and stuff like that. Like, I guess you could try to get a ton of health to make it better, so you don't die as fast, but it still didn't feel that great. So it didn't feel rewarding at all to kind of beat these enemies. And then on top of that, there's just random ways that you can die. It wasn't it wasn't here's a challenge and you died. It was you opened a chest and it killed you, which whatever, that's fine. You get, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the D&D thing? When the chest becomes a mimic.
A mimic. Yeah,
you get mimics in all other kinds of games, but right? It's not like you click on it and you just die, you know? It's more like usually you have to fight it, or perhaps like you have a second to react to it, and this is not that, right? So I just had so many issues with that side of the gameplay, which made me so frustrated because I was like, I actually like kind of digging through this map, right? And I think that's a really great core game mechanic for this game, and really where it should have stayed, or figure out a different way to do combat. I thought that maybe combat where if you run into it, it's like a Pokemon battle where like and then you just go down and do like a turn-based thing. That would be cool. It would make more sense with like you collecting different kinds of resources to go to a shop and upgrade things. But this just lacks so much of that core understanding of what are you doing here. Like I understand you have to go find things, but it felt very game maker esque. It was like, oh yeah, you just got to go find different things. And sure, there's a little bit of a story here, like kind of there's characters, but that was it. So my summation of the gameplay was Minesweeper, cool. Dungeon, not so cool. I think so. Maybe I'll just go play more Minesweeper. That game's free. So that's where I'm at with the gameplay. But what about you?
Yeah, no, I definitely I agree. And I know, you know, I say that all the time, but no, for this one is definitely true. I know our significant others are always like, "Can you guys just disagree on something?" Which we do at certain things, but no, I had like I mentioned earlier, I had to look up like kind of relearn how to play Minesweeper, and I enjoyed playing it in the mining part. I was like, "Oh, this is cool," because not only are you playing Minesweeper, but you also, you're getting those different resources. So that's also guiding your direction. You're like, oh, I have to get more iron or I have to get more gold, whatever it is. So that's also like a secondary kind of objective for you as you're getting through, not just surviving, which is like, I think, typical Minesweeper. You're just trying to survive basically and complete the level. So I definitely agree. Like I was kind of thinking, even just looking at the gameplay, the trailer for it, that the dungeon side would not be like a grid system where like every time I walked, the enemies would walk as well, and it kind of was like, essentially like every step was a turn. Basically, is kind of how the game is laid out. I'm fine with that, for the Minesweeper kind of part. But in terms of the combat, yeah, I would have liked to see this be, once you're out of the mine area, like a normal kind of dungeon crawler where like I'm running around, I'm killing things. They're trying to attack me, like hordes of enemies kind of feel to it. Like I really think like if it was that sort of balance where like when you're mining, it's Minesweeper, but the game is mostly a dungeon crawler. Like I feel like right now it's like mostly Minesweeper in every aspect when it should be mostly a dungeon crawler with like Minesweeper sprinkled in for the mining side of things. So I did really enjoy that. I also think that, like you said, like if the combat was removed from this game, I think it could be a lot of fun. There's a lot of other ideas that you could do with just the Minesweeper part, right? Like I was thinking of boar blasters and kind of all the stuff that you discover as you're playing through boar blasters could be something similar to this game, where like maybe you have not an endless amount of stuff to mine, but you have like certain things you discover as you're mining, like certain areas, or maybe there is an enemy that you discover that jumps out at you as you're mining. Like I just kind of felt like this game, you know, took the Minesweeper element and brought it to the combat, and I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't really like it. I didn't fully understand it either. I actually didn't hop into the tutorial right away because I thought by hopping into the story, because there is a story, we'll talk about that in a little bit, that it would still provide me with some sort of like onboarding or like little tutorial, and it didn't. And I was like, well, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing here. So then I hopped into the training. So like that's something from the gameplay side is like I feel like just push people into the training right away, just so that they know, kind of how everything works. And I also feel like, it didn't do an amazing job of teaching Minesweeper, which I know they're probably assuming people already know how to play if they bought this game. But even just some like I feel like this game could have a really cool tutorial for Minesweeper, where it's like, it just explains what the numbers mean, and it explains, the maybe like, oh, go gather like this sort of resource, and if you do that, you'll be able to unlock this certain thing. Like I just didn't really get that vibe even in the story. I was just like, all right, I have to go collect 20 iron. Um, and I did, and then I gave it to like the person who was there, and then I didn't know really what to do next. And it was like, oh, you got to go collect this other resource. And I was like, oh, if I would have known that, I would have collected both of them at the same time. Like I just felt like there was just a disconnect between like my objectives in the game as well. But yeah, I think the real pitfall of the game is definitely the combat. It's also because it's based on a grid system. I felt like I was facing the wrong direction a few times, especially like when you use your spell. And there's a few spells that you can get, but the one in the beginning is just kind of this like blue fireball thing that you get. Um, and I like I would use it and I'd be like, oh, I was facing the wrong direction. Like I didn't realize I was facing the wrong direction, even though my mouse was over on like the enemy there. I still cast it in the wrong direction, and it just it ended up being a little bit more confusing than helpful. Um, but again, this is like it's very interesting because I feel like we've talked over the weeks about like how can you take a classic game and
Yeah.
turn it into a roguelike, right? Or turn it into another mash up genres. We've seen it with Balatro. We've seen it with Chessorama. All these sort of these games, some better than others, obviously. And I feel like when I started with the Minesweeper part of this game, I was like, "Oh, this could be like something special. Like this
Sure.
is kind of cool." And then all of a sudden, the combat came into play, and I was like, "I don't like." I just kept dying. It was very hard for me to progress, and Minesweeper is hard enough already for
Yeah.
me, you know. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think the combat it has way more of a learning curve to it than the Minesweeper part, and it also doesn't work super well. So I don't know if this is even something they could fix in an update. Would prefer if the combat side was more fluid, was not kind of turn based, and then the Minesweeper side was, if that was even possible. But yeah, so
Yeah.
it's tough. It's like with this game because it's like half of it I like, half of it I don't like, and it's truly the title as well. Like I agree.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. So, like, the Minesweeper part is very much outside of the collecting the resource. It's just Minesweeper, right?
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also, like, it didn't feel like a new take on Minesweeper, right? Like, it didn't feel like if I got a special upgrade, I can knock out this block and the block next to it or something like that. Or
yeah,
I get a special upgrade and like I can use it if I have enough mana. And this might be in the deeper part of the game, but like it just didn't feel like there was like a regular shop or like upgrade system that was like readily available. Like, oh, use this spell. I know where the next 10 mines are in like a certain
yeah,
radius or something like that. So like I don't think you need to even have a dungeon slash you know, dungeon crawler combat thing going on. I think you can just make a really cool like version of Minesweeper. And I think that's really what this also lacks. As much as I was finding myself enjoying the Minesweeper part, I'm like, this is also just Minesweeper.
yeah,
I'm just playing Minesweeper, except instead of me just clicking around, I'm moving a guy and clicking around. So I don't know. I think that it just lacked originality there. I think like I understand like it's like, oh, this is a cool mashup. And it could have worked if maybe the combat was better. Like you would have like, oh, who cares? It's just regular Minesweeper. That's where I just get my resources. Now I gotta go play really fun combat. But it didn't
yeah,
have that. So yeah, it's brutal. That's how
yeah,
it came out to be. But, there's more to it, and there is a story mode, which we can talk about that a little bit. It's not much. It's like a roguelike kind of. You hop into the story, and there's a wizard or something right next to you, and you talk to them, and they're like, welcome. Go find 20 iron, come back, and then after that, go find my friend, give them X amount of gold to get some more health. And it's kind of like a pseudo tutorial
Mm,
on
yeah.
top of the already existing tutorial. And I will say the actual tutorial was good. Um, Still, the combat didn't really work that well in it, but it was a good tutorial. It was like, here's what you do. But in terms of the rest of the story, you're walking around. There's people in cages. You're letting them go. I don't know who they are. They don't tell you who they are. You're just like, all right, see you later.
Good
Which
luck.
yeah, which is like, it was like weird. I was like, kept finding people in cages. I was like, and then it said, let them go. Press E. Press E. I guess they're gone. Did I get anything for that? No, not really. All right. I guess I'll let everybody go, or maybe nobody. Who knows? It didn't
Yeah.
seem to reward me. So, yeah, there's not much story here. And it's like, in this kind of game, this would go for a game that has, great gameplay. You don't need a lot of story in this kind of game. So, like, I'm not really expecting much. But also, there was like directionalness stuff, and then there was like rooms in the game that had like chairs and stuff. I didn't know what.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is just some flair for this room, I guess. So, yeah, the story was like whatever, but it also probably could have just been a little bit more or not mainstream, streamlined to kind of just be like, go do this, go do that. Don't worry about like any other kind of stuff. Or if there was a reason that people were in cages, tell me. I don't know. It's
Right. Yeah.
like
A little dialogue. Help! They trapped me here. Just a
yeah.
little text or something. Of just like, why
Here's a
are you in there?
reward. This will help you do minesweeping stuff. Whoa, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Um. Yeah, and I also like I just have like the gameplay on loop here. It looks like there are abilities that will
mm,
destroy, a good amount of the stones and things like that. But the fact that that's not really made clear
mm-hmm.
like in the beginning is really, I think, like, when do you even get that, and
Yeah,
also Minesweeper's not, at least for me, it's not that easy. Like, I
yeah,
kept dying. So it's just like, well, I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to be able to fully progress to unlock more things. So getting that stuff, maybe stuff a little bit earlier would have been cool. But yeah, in terms of the story, you're right. It's like very light. And really like I wasn't expecting a super deep story. But one thing that I definitely had a little bit of an issue with is like, we believe that I think the developers are Russian, and some of the translation wasn't it's clear that I think they translated a lot of the dialogue, and some of it just didn't make sense. Like
mm-hmm.
I'd read it and I'd be like, I don't think that made sense. I'd reread it again. I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. And then I'd be like, I think I know what they want me to do, or I think I know what they're talking about. So that's just one thing. Is just like, you know, um, maybe update. That's something they could fix with like a patch. Just kind of some of the translation wasn't perfect, and I'm sure, they might not have spent a lot of time doing it. Maybe they used AI to help translate, or Google Translate, whatever it is. But just some of it was a little confusing there, for me. But yeah, it's just overall, I kept thinking of Boar Blasters with this game. I know it's just because it's like digging or whatever, but like Boar Blasters has interesting story elements, even if it's just kind of these brief little moments of like some dialogue that you hear, or you see a helicopter fly through, or whatever it is. Like, there's opportunity in this game to have a little bit more story, and a little bit more purpose, that obviously drives right into like the purpose of why you're doing things. It's like you said, they just drop you in and you don't really know really what you're doing, other than like, I guess there's like a portal that you spawn near, and you basically are like, all right, I have to do something, get these like tasks done, collect these stones, I guess, to go through the portal. I don't know what happens when I go through the portal. They just didn't really like explain it that well for me. And yeah, just the story was definitely on a little bit of a weaker side. But in terms of the art, though, I did enjoy the art. It's nothing super in depth. It's kind of these little sprite characters, very, like you said, like game maker esque sort of in a way. But I think overall, like the art did its job in this game. It's nothing that's gonna blow you away. But it's also I didn't think it was lacking anywhere. Like I could clearly see, like you said, you go into a certain room, like, oh, that's a chair, that's a chest, that's a little a coin. It's very very easy to kind of understand where you were in the world for me. But I thought the enemy design was also a little bit interesting. It wasn't like every enemy looked the same. There were little differences here and there. So overall, I wasn't blown away by the art, but I thought it did its job and satisfied like my kind of expectations. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean the art was fine. I didn't find it abhorrent or anything like that. It all kind of meshed with what they were going for. You know, the menu could use some work, that's for sure. And like
Yeah.
there's some stuff that's just like this is just clunky looking, but whatever. Like it's totally fine. Like I'm not even focused on that, right? Like I'm focused on digging. That's and that part was that made sense and that was good. But I there I the one thing I disliked so much was like the the rooms with like random stuff in it that you can't really
Hmm.
determine what they are, and like I don't really like in the squares above like the items you have to find when you get it. It's hard to tell what it is or who
Yeah.
cares what it means. It's like
Yeah.
remember the number 51. Like why is that an item? You just told me to remember it. I rememred it. It's
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
So like I don't know what that was all about. But like in terms of the art, it was like fine. And it's like uh, it's is it's not something I would expect a lot from. It's cool little pixel art, which I like, some sprites and stuff like that, and like some like not like cool character designs. It's pretty basic stuff to be honest, but
Yeah.
it's
It's a little Norby in
yeah,
a
a little
way.
Norpy, yeah, which
Yeah.
is totally fine. Like if that's just the vibe throughout the game, I'm totally fine with it. And it seemed like that's what the vibe was through the game. It didn't offend me at all. I wasn't like, but I wasn't like, this is the coolest looking like Norpy looking game I've ever seen. I wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It was just like, this is fine. I want to not play combat in this game ever again. So like that was basically where I was with Dungeon Minesweeper. But now here's an interesting thing. Let's get into the sound and the music.
This is very interesting.
So there's some bangers in this game. Who knows when
Yeah.
they're gonna show up though?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my thoughts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
It just like randomly slaps. It just randomly slaps.
when I booted up the game, I played the whole tutorial, and it was just cave noises, right? And it sounded like there was thunder in the background or something like that. And I put the whole tutorial. I booted up the game. It was the menu. Played the tutorial. Same background noise. That whole process. Whatever 5, 6, 10 minutes later after the tutorial, I don't remember how long it took me. I get in back into the menu. All of a sudden, this like really cool music starts. I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm a little excited. Like, yeah, the tutorial was like kind of good. Let me get into the regular game. And then like it would stop and it'd be back to just cave noises. And then all of a sudden, and I'm like, oh, it's back.
Yeah.
It was random. I don't understand what that is because it didn't even feel like it was some kind of like loop, right? It didn't feel like, okay, you're gonna get X amount of minutes of cave noises, and then the music's gonna start. It felt like random. Sometimes the cave noises would only be for like 30 seconds, and then another song would start, and then other times it felt like it was like 10 minutes of cave noises. So
Yeah.
I don't really know what was going on there, but the music was good. But I mean, I would like it
Yeah.
a little bit more often, I guess, when I'm playing this game.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I was playing it, cave noises. I'm like, I wrote notes down. I was like, all right, this is the sound for the game. Like this is the music. And then all of a sudden it just hits you. And I'm just like, holy hell. Like I was like, this is slapping right now, as the kids say. And then it just disappeared. Yeah, I was just like, okay, where did that go? And I actually started to look into it a bit because the developer sent over like a YouTube video of the music, and that's exactly how it works. Of how you just mentioned, where like the track itself, or I guess there's probably more than one track, and maybe that's why the timing is weird. But it has the cave music in it, and then it plays the banger music, and then it goes back to the cave music. And I guess like certain tracks maybe only have 30 seconds of the cave music, and then it gets into it. Other ones have a few minutes of it. Um, at least that's what it seemed like in the video they sent. So I definitely agree. Like I think the music was like a pretty strong point in the game, and I would like to just hear it more. Just like I understand. I already understand from the visuals that we're in some sort of cave, right? Because we're mining something. I don't necessarily need to hear the cave sounds more than I hear the music.
No.
Maybe even just overlay cave sounds with the music, and just give me that little subtle, amount of cave sounds. So when the music maybe gets a little bit lower, I hear the cave sounds and then the music comes back in. But I just wanted to hear more of the music. I thought it was pretty great and overall, like really surprising. Like I was just like, I was bobbing my head. And I was just like, this is like, where did this come from? So yeah, just overall, music wise, I think it was great. I would have liked a little bit better sound effects when it
Sure.
comes to mining things, and even like the bombs. Like it's not super clear when you're like, unless you're looking at your health bar. I wasn't really like, I was like, oh god, I'm taking damage every time I reveal a bomb.
Yeah.
Like there should be maybe more of a little audio cue for that.
Like the or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly. Also, not to be like, you know, uh, to be weird about it or anything, and this is maybe more on the art side and the gameplay, but like, shouldn't mines help you mine in a dungeon rather than hurt you? I
Yeah.
understand. I understand.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't work that way. But I was just like, every one that I would reveal, I'd be like, "Oh, I want you to blow up. Like, I want you to destroy all this stuff around you." But anyway, regardless, I would have liked a little bit more sound effects when it came to like mining actual things and then taking damage in the game. But music wise, really surprising and definitely one of my favorite parts of playing it.
I just didn't know where you're going. Not to be like you were like not to be weird. I didn't know what you were gonna say after that. It wasn't like shoot the mines blow up things. No, I thought you were gonna be like the mines were kind of hot or something like that. Like,
Dude,
but,
I was rock hard when I was playing, and I think it was the mines.
it'd be funny
Uh,
though if we obviously don't disagree here, but like the one thing we disagree on this game is you're like I love the music. I was like I hate the music, but those cave sounds, I was oh yeah.
Felt like I was there. It was nuts. Yeah,
But
and the cave sounds were good. That's what you expect in a cave.
yeah, it was like, but I
Dripping.
didn't expect so much
Yeah,
cave
yeah,
sounds.
agreed.
It did
Yeah,
kind of feel almost a little bit like like the sound machine alarm clocks, like
yeah,
or whatever that you you have next to your bed. Like, oh, this is ocean breeze. This is dungeon minesweeper cave noises or something
yeah,
like that to help you go
yeah.
to sleep. But but in terms of performance on my end, it was no issues here. I mean, like it is jarring that you just kind of go right into the menu, but I don't think that's a performance thing. That's just like kind of just indicative of what the rest of the game is, I guess, in a way. But what about you?
Yeah, ran really well. No issues whatsoever. This game could probably run really well on mobile as well. Just a super lightweight game. So yeah, no issues for me. But you know what time it is?
It's time for our rating. Our rating system goes as follows: the best games, the S tiers, are certified fresh juice, followed by a steal, which is usually just like your good games, like the Cub or God, I should just create a list of. I should. You should share with me the list of our
Our
ratings.
ratings. Oh yeah, it's in our email, our shared
it is?
email.
Okay, cool,
It's a
cool.
sheet. Yep. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
a look. I'll take a look. B, get on sale. These are the games that, like, sure, it's like got its merits, but like maybe wait till maybe something improves or they have a big update, or you can get it on like at a cheaper price. And then C tiers, like your manager special, these are games that are don't have a lot of redeeming qualities, but if you're like obsessed with that genre, like you just really love that genre and you just want to get a fix, sometimes those games are okay. And then Spoiled Milk is something that we can't in good faith recommend to anyone. Matthew, what's your rating?
All right, so I am giving this a manager special. And the main reason for that, I mean, obviously the whole show, we talked about it, but I just felt like going into the game, I was thinking it was going to be something a bit different than what the game actually ended up being. So I think that this game could be really successful if it removes the combat part and it really fleshes out the Minesweeper part, right? Get a little innovative with some of the Minesweeper things, which apparently it does later in the game. Maybe push that up a little bit more to the early game to get people a little addicted to it. But I just think in its current state, it's just it has a few small redeeming qualities, I think, but I think overall, like, it's hard to recommend this game over just like playing Minesweeper, right? Like boot up Minesweeper on a Windows computer, and you're gonna have a pretty similar experience, I think, overall. But I do think maybe there's a turn-based audience out there that would enjoy this game as well. But I think for me, it's hard to give it a rating higher than that. But what do you think, Tommy?
Yeah, this one's a tough one to rate, to be honest with you. Because I found myself enjoying some parts, but I truly, and this is gonna be kind of funny with what comes after this. I truly believe I can't really recommend this game to people because I felt like the combat was so like game breaking and just not fun, and you even if you're enjoying the Minesweeper part, I just like who
Yeah.
cares? You can go play Minesweeper. And I did a quick search just now. Actually, there is a decently rated Minesweeper roguelike already called Demon
Okay.
Crawl. I just searched.
Oh.
I actually was looking for some gameplay on YouTube of this game, and Northern Lion had played Demon Crawl 4 years ago, and I looked on Steam, and that game has not overwhelming, very positive reviews. So I mean, I can't recommend that game. I haven't played it, but like, that sounds more like what maybe we were expecting. But like, also this kind of felt like a shell of a game, right? Here's two ideas. I'm gonna put them together. I'm gonna make something real quick. I'm gonna make a freaking banger soundtrack that I'm gonna inject a bunch of cave noise into it, and then release it to the world. And I can't in good faith really recommend this game to people, which is why I'm going to give it a Spoiled Milk. And this is a game I'll be honest, I played more of this game than the Spoiled Milk rating indicates, to be honest, because I was like, there's got to be something here. I'm like, I'm enjoying this Minesweeper so much, and then I'm starting realizing I'm just playing Minesweeper. I'm not playing any, like, I don't even care that I'm getting gems and stuff like that. I just want to play Minesweeper. That was free on MS DOS probably. So like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I Spoiled Milks. So,
Yep.
and also just so you know, folks, we're giving away 5 free Steam keys to Dungeon Minesweeper, graciously given to us by Strudio. So how can people enter, Matt?
Yeah, so if you're listening to this episode, check out our Twitter at Fresh Juice Pod, and you can enter just right on Twitter there. All you got to do is follow us on Twitter, tag a friend, and like and retweet the tweet. I think of those are the rules. So yeah, we're giving away 5 keys. It'll be live for a little under a week, and I'll contact all the winners through Twitter with their Steam keys. So hopefully, if you guys get the game, it's a free game, and hopefully you enjoy it, But yeah, appreciate the developers sending us those keys as well. Always nice, we always ask, just to let you guys know, always ask, "Hey, you got any extra keys? For any game that we get free keys for, for our audience." So it's always nice when the developers do send the keys. Obviously they don't know what we think about the game yet, so props to them for doing that. And yeah, that is how you can enter that.
Amen, amen. Can't wait for next week. We're going to be reviewing Animal Well, which is a highly anticipated game. We both played the demo at PAX.
Yep.
Separate years though, kind of funny. But we do have some listener questions. The best way to submit listener questions is to go to the Fresh Juice Discord, which is in the show notes as we've mentioned, or you can live with me, as R Carp tends to give me her question by just telling me. The first question though comes from Bags. Favorite weapon in video games? So, is this like specific weapon? Or just
I guess,
like a general?
I would say like a specific, like, you could be like the Master Sword from Zelda.
Yeah.
Like that's like a specific like weapon. Yeah. But I guess, like, did you have another idea for what that could mean?
No, like either like it makes more sense that it'd be specific weapon. Like I like swords. That'd be kind of boring.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, this is probably something I mentioned on the show before, but like I love the Lancer from Gears of War, and it's mainly a nostalgic thing, but like you take a machine gun, combine it with a chainsaw, that's pretty cool. So it's mainly a nostalgic thing. The other one that I always think of too is the portal gun. I guess that's technically like a weapon, but I always just thought that was like the coolest thing, and I wish I had it in real life. I know a lot of people say the Needler from Halo as well, which is a really cool gun too. But yeah, I would probably just go with the Lancer, just because it has an it's made an impression on me over the years, and I always just thought it was cool. Plus, I have two of them in the back somewhere here. If you're watching on YouTube, in this room, I got two little replicas of it. So clearly, I don't have any other replicas of any other video game gun. So that must be the number one. What are you thinking, Tom?
This is a tough one. Like, so the first weapon that comes to mind is Soul Edge from the Soul Calibur series.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen that, it's got a giant, like, it's like a flesh, like, sheath kind of thing with a giant eye, almost like a giant cleaver looking sword. That's pretty cool. I have a picture saved on my phone of George Costanza holding it, and I always love looking at that picture. It's so funny. And then I also think of like just like a lot of the Legend of Zelda stuff. I always loved the slingshot, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like the first like ranged weapon you get in Ocarina of Time, and that's when you're like, oh, I can kill things from far away, and you need to use it to beat I want to say Shelob, but the whatever.
Yeah.
What's
The
it
thing.
called? It's like Ghidorah or something like that, right?
Yeah, something like that
In
on
the
the
Deku
ceiling.
Tree. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So either of those. I mean, Soul Edge is pretty badass though. That weapon's awesome. So
Yeah.
that's a great question, Bags. Now next comes from Capolo, who asks, "You both love the Switch. What do you think the next generation for Nintendo should be?"
I mean, it's hard to know, right? Because Nintendo is always doing something weird with their new consoles, right? And I honestly think that the Switch is like the perfect kind of form factor. Like, I don't really think, and Nintendo seems to always surprise me. So maybe they got something cooking that's different looking than the Switch. But I would just love them to keep iterating on the Switch's form factor. Give me a Super Nintendo Switch. I think that's what it should be called for the next generation. Give me better internals. Give me a better screen, better battery life, all that sort of stuff. And I really don't think I would want anything more than that. Maybe they could innovate on like the dock part a bit, and maybe give a little bit of I don't know, some sort of different stuff on the dock. Maybe a way to easily transport the dock. I know I'm always worried that it's going to snap if
Mm-hmm.
I'm like put it in my backpack or whatever. So maybe something like that could be cool. But yeah, I it's really tough because you look at like the Wii and you're like, okay, like they could do something different than the Wii. You look at the Wii U and you're like, oh man, this would be really cool if like this was just like the controller was just the console. And then they did that, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what they could do from now on, but I want to know, like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I would like to just see just like the next generation of the Switch. I don't need to have a brand new console, to be honest, because I mean, at least for like where I'm at with my life, I like being able to take my main console wherever I want in the house or wherever I want in general. I think that's just awesome. I mean, I play Balatro on the treadmill at the gym, right? Like that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
And like I don't know if I want anything different than that. I want better performance, right? You know, we had a conversation with the Goons developers. It's like a game like that, like had trouble with the Switch, which is like, okay, we need to kind of like look at something. So I hope Nintendo's like focusing on like the hardware aspect rather than, but like if we know Nintendo, they're gonna wanna innovate, right? They can't help it, which is like the best thing about them, to be honest, right? It'd be cool if we got, now we're cooking. What if it's the Nintendo Switch DS where it is 2 again? I don't know. That would be too much.
That would be insane.
That would be pretty insane.
I feel like the amount of broken Switches would like go through the roof.
Yeah.
But you never know. I guess it's possible with Nintendo. Yeah. I also, it would be cool if like somehow, I think there's even like a cardboard version of this, but like give me like a Switch VR where I take it out and I slip it in something. But it would obviously have to be better hardware for that to really be like good. But that would be pretty cool, you know, just like imagine your Switch is now also VR. You don't have to buy a VR headset. Like again, kind of, you know, adding to the functionality of the Switch. Like they should just keep building on that. Make the Switch like impossible to not have, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it sold so well. That's why the Wii sold so well. Unfortunately, the Wii U didn't sell that well, but you know. Also, if you're gonna make a new Switch, like if you're gonna make a new console, have some bangers out the gate that you can play on that console, right?
Yeah.
So
and give it a better name than Wii U.
Than the Wii U, the Nintendo Switch U.
Yeah.
Next question comes from K Moore, who asks, well, "What video game world would you choose to live in, and why?"
Oh man, what video game world would I choose to live in? It would have to be one that is not, I don't know, not gonna kill me. I was thinking Minecraft. That's not gonna work. I don't know. What do you think, Tom? What video game world would you want to live in?
This is tough. Like, you know, I love a lot of fantasy stuff, but like, I feel like a lot of the fantasy stuff might be a little brutal. You know, like Hyrule would be kind of cool, right? But like, if you're just like living in Hyrule, you're just one of the NPCs. That's like the thing you gotta realize. So like, you kind of want to live somewhere where like you get to experience being whatever. So like, I don't know, maybe like F-Zero. That'd be cool. Like, just like I can become one of these F-Zero drivers. I love the one on the GameCube. That one was awesome.
Yeah.
Like we got F-Zero 99, but I think that's like the only like real F-Zero game we've gotten since the GameCube, which is crazy. But yeah, that's a hard one to answer because like, God, I don't know. Resident Evil? No. Silent Hill?
Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's like real life with like less taxes, not that much less, but
hey, dude, I wish I could become a millionaire selling turnips in real life. You know, like I want that.
Oh, what do you do for work? I just fish, shake trees sometimes.
Yep.
You know, and, help my neighbors. They usually pay me actually surprisingly well.
Yeah, and they're all animals. I have a huge debt to some raccoons. um, yeah, no, yeah. I guess the Animal Crossing
Yeah,
is
that's probably a good
probably
one.
the safest
Probably a good
bet.
one. I
You
almost
know?
said
Yeah,
Mario Party, but that seems like probably like a diabolical situation, right?
yeah.
You're stuck in this like world where you're forced to play a board game all the time.
It's
Like
hell.
we're
Yeah,
yeah, it's hell. Like it's like Sisyphus, except you're just going around the board all the time, and sometimes you
yeah,
land on Bowser's spot, and he like actually burns you to a crisp, which
yeah.
seems a little crazy. Um, so
Yeah, that's also a game that I'm upset. Not to go on a little rant, but give me a like build your own Mario Party game.
mm,
Build your own levels. Like there's one on Steam that's like kind of like that sort of, but like give me an actual like Mario Maker, but for Mario Party. That's what
yeah.
I want. Yeah. What the hell is going on,
Give me an Animal
Nintendo?
Crossing where I can kill the the villagers. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I'm kidding. Unless Nintendo.
Oh, that's how they innovate, you know?
Yeah. You remember those wholesome things we used to make? We're going hardcore now.
Yeah.
Um, and then speaking of hardcore, the last question comes from Arcarp, who asked, "Would you rather be killed by a bear or a serial killer?"
Oh, I probably a serial killer because I feel like maybe I wouldn't see it coming. At least I feel like with a bear, I probably seeing the bear coming, and I'm just gonna get ripped to shreds. Maybe with a serial killer, it could be like depending on what serial killer it is, I guess. But like it could be pretty quick, you know.
Mm,
But that's also, I mean, with a bear, maybe it is quick too, but I just feel like it would just be mostly like just shredding me up and I would still be alive. And maybe even like, you know, on like my last legs for a while until the
sure.
bear decides to like kill me for real. I don't know. I don't know how that works, but I'll just go with serial killer. What do you think of Tom?
Well, based on what I know about serial killers, they'll be coming at some point.
Good.
I don't know when and how fast, but so I am choosing serial killer not because I think it'll be quick. I think it could be they could draw it out. They could be very like torturous, but also the bear. Yes, I've seen The Revenant. I've also watched that Grizzly Man documentary. It sounds like an awful, awful experience getting mauled by a bear to death.
Yeah.
That is terrible.
Have you
Um,
seen the bear?
the Bear, yeah, it's a great show. It's a
Yeah.
great show. I mean, in a lot of ways, working in a restaurant's like getting mauled by a bear. Um,
Yeah.
but I am choosing a serial killer only because I don't think you're getting a lot of books written, or you're not going to be mentioned in a lot of books. There's not like a book that's like, here's a story of all the bear killings of all time. There's probably one of those books, but like if this serial killer is like one of the all time greats and you're one of the victims, you're getting at least a paragraph, right?
Yeah. Maybe in a
Right?
documentary too, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Especially if you feel like you've made an impact on your loved ones, right? Like that would be even bigger, right? Like because you got killed and they're all sad and
Yeah.
maybe they try to figure out who the serial killer is and maybe that leads to the serial killer getting caught and yada yada
Yeah.
yada. That'd be a really I mean, that's probably a whole episode of the Netflix documentary. So
And if you needed motivation to be like great to your loved ones, it's that. It's in case you get killed by a serial killer, you know, your
yeah.
segment's gonna be longer and just better overall.
Yeah.
So if you need that motivation, there it is.
That's it. And you know what? And with the bear thing, don't even worry about it. You don't have to be good to your loved ones if you think you're gonna get killed by a bear. Who
True.
cares? People are gonna
If
be
you
like,
get killed by a
good.
bear, you didn't have loved ones. All right.
Yeah.
You're
He
living in the woods
deserved
by
it.
yourself.
He was out in the woods. What did you think was gonna happen? So thank you for the question, Artcarp. Always lovely to hear from you. That brings us to the end of the show, which is the Rec Room, where we recommend something that perhaps isn't an indie game. What do you have to recommend this week, Matthew?
Yeah, so based on your recommendation in previous episodes, my wife and I have started watching Vice Principals, which we're only like 2 or 3 episodes in. For those of you who don't know, it's a Danny McBride show. It's got 2 seasons where him and Walter Goggins are vice principals for a school. get into a bunch of trouble and things of that sort, from what I can tell so far. And it is just, it's hilarious. And it really is like solidifying, like, I just want to watch anything Danny McBride does. I loved Righteous Gemstones, Eastbound and Down. Obviously, like, he's been in like Tropic Thunder, even, like, he was like great in. And it's been a treat so far. So we're very excited to keep watching it. It's our new. We typically have like a serious show that we kind of watch, and then like a comedy show that are both new. So, like, we're still watching through The Sopranos, almost done with that. And we've decided like Vice Principals is like going to be that little comedic relief when we need it. So it's been great so far. Can't recommend it enough. And I'm only 2 episodes in, and I'm very excited. You mentioned before the show, at the end of this season is going to be season 1 is going to be something cool that happens. So excited about that. Can't wait to check it out. But yeah, it's been great. What about you, Tommy? What are you recommending to the folks out there?
Oh, I was going to mention something, then I remembered I didn't mention it last week, but I was going to recommend Abigail the movie, which I did mention last week, but I ended up recommending that podcast. Abigail is very good. You should go see it. Instead, I'm going to recommend there's a playtest right now for the game Necro King. It is actually very cool. I'm interested to see where it goes with this game. I'm fully in on the concept of this game. So check it out. It's like a real-time strategy deck builder thing. That's all you gotta know. Cool. With like army placement kind of stuff, I guess. Not army placement, like unit placement. So it's pretty neat. So, and I guess it's got some roguelike-y elements as well, which doesn't at this point. But that's going to do it for the show, though, folks.
There it is.
Another banger, Dungeon Minesweeper. Don't forget the giveaway. Can't recommend trying to get on that giveaway enough, folks. And you can continue to find me on Twitter at FreshBloodsPod. It's where I talk mostly about Flesh and Blood, a game that I have another podcast for called Fresh and Buds. This week I'm joined by my friend Gary, who, he is just a wonder, and I think he sometimes listens to this show. Gary, shout out Gary. And
what's up, Gary?
What's up, Gary? And that's it. You can find all of us Fresh Juice on everything, as we said. Where can people find you, Matthew?
Yeah, find me outside the show at Matty Gorm, Gorm. I've been working on some stuff behind the scenes on YouTube and streaming a little bit more on Twitch. I've been playing, for those of you who know, this game Once Human. Been playing a bit of that beta. The beta is going on for a few more weeks, but I'm working on like a massive database of everything that's in the game that will hopefully help out a lot of people. So I've been working on that behind the scenes. So be on the lookout for that on my channels if you're interested in that game at all. But yeah, I think that'll do it for the show, Tommy.
That'll do. Fresh juice heads. Stay juicy, stay fresh. And Matthew, play Hades. Goodbye.
I will.